Guys, today we're going to talk about statistical questions, and the I can statement we're working on is I can identify and create statistical questions. So before we can begin identifying, which is what we're going to focus on in this video, we need to know what a statistical question is. And a statistical question is a question that can be answered by collecting data. There's a couple things you need to think about when you're writing and identifying, is this a statistical question or not? And first thing, then, this is the most important, is that there must be variability in the data, meaning there has to be more than one possible response. It's possible that I could ask everyone, a group of people what their age is, and it's all the same. But there's a possibility when I have a group of people that they might not all have the same age. So there needs to be more than one possible response. So if I were to ask, what is the color of grass? That's not a statistical question because there is only one possible correct answer. So what would a statistical question look like? Well, a good example might be, how many minutes did you spend studying last night? Because each student can give a different answer. There is more than one possible answer that can be given to this question. And it's not wrong that everyone's giving a different answer. Some people might not have had as much time to study the night before. Some people maybe didn't need to study as much the night before, or some people maybe needed to study more. So the answers can vary based on the individual. So let's look at a situation and determine what statistical question from a list, A, B, C, D, could be related to this data. And we've seen this before when we were talking about range and interquartile range. But now we're going to look at this graph and take a little different twist on it. So these students were tested on the novel The Giver in November. Their scores were displayed in a box and whisker plot. So the questions that are possible is, how many hours did the teacher spend making the test? Would that be statistical? Is there more than one possible response for how long did the teacher take to make this test or the test that we're looking at here? No, there's only one answer. Teacher spent some amount of time making the test, and then she didn't remake it, and then remake it, and then remake it just to see how quickly she could make it again. No, she made it one time. There's only one possible answer. B, what did students score on the test? Is it possible that the students could have had different scores on the test? Yes. B is a statistical question because there's variability. It's possible that every student could have gotten 100, but looking at the graph, we know that's not what happened. C, how many students are in the class? Well, there's only one possible answer to that. There's a roster of students who are in that class. There's only one possible number of students that are in that class. D, which test did the students take in November? Well, that's not statistical either because we're not, there is only one test based on the information we're given that the students took in November. So The Giver is the test that they took in November. Okay? All right. I hope that kind of helps to understand what that means because we're going to try a few problems. We have 3 problems we're going to try out. Look at this problem. A fast food restaurant kept count of how many chicken nugget kids meals were sold every day for 2 weeks. The data was displayed in the box and whisker plot. Which of the following questions could be a statistical question related to this data? Pause the video, give your answer, and then press play and see how you did. Okay, how'd you do? The statistical question for this data is, how many chicken nugget meals were sold each day? It's possible that every day this restaurant sells 100 chicken nugget meals, but that's not what happens. It depends on the customers that come in. So every day there's a different possibility for the number of chicken nuggets sold. So how many chicken nugget meals were sold each day is our statistical question. The rest only really have one answer, and there's only one possible answer, and everyone will give the same answer, and there's no variability in that. There's not even a possibility that people will give a different answer. Okay, problem number 2, we've got a bird watching group. They wrote down the number of species of birds they saw on a particular day. This data is represented in the box and whisker plot. So, which of the following could be a statistical question related to this data? Pause the video, write your answer, then press play. Let's see how you did. Okay, let's check your work. D is the correct answer. How many bird species will each person observe in a particular day? Well, it depends on where you are. What are you looking at? Which direction are you looking? Are you catching all the birds? It is how many birds did each person, individual, observe on a particular day. They may have come at different times, which would also change the number of birds they could have seen. Do birds fly? Yes, most of them, unless you're talking about an ostrich. What color is a robin? There's really only one answer to that. And see, how many birds did George see today? Well, it's just one person. There is only one possible answer for how many birds George saw in one day. All right, problem number 3. Which of the following questions, again, could be a statistical question related to this data? And the data is looking at a local animal shelter that keeps up with the number of animals adopted each month. So the data for the year 2017 is given in the form of a box and whisker plot. Pause the video, determine which one is the statistical question related to this data, then press play. Let's see how you did. Okay, how'd you do? The correct answer for this would be A, how many animals were adopted each month? Well, each month, a different number of animals could have been adopted. And based on this box plot, it is clear that yes, a different number of animals were adopted in each month, or there was more than one number. It's not like the shelter is saying we will only allow 5 dogs to be adopted in a month. Okay. B, do you have a pet dog? That's not statistical. There's only one answer if I ask you that. Is the local animal shelter open today? Well, that's not statistical. I can look at that and there's only one possible answer. There's no variability that is even possible with that question. Which dog was adopted first in the year of 2000? Well, there's only one answer to that too. There's no variability in that. So that brings us to the end of this video. You can go back and watch it as many times as you need to, or watch any part. But don't forget to WSQ in your notes, and have a fantastic day. Can't wait to discuss this with you.